Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of Cruel and Beautiful, Eye of the Dragon, Rabbit Hole, and King Dio. A programmer from some video game company has recently confirmed that, despite what Sony tried to tell you before the PS5 launch, Ratchet and Clank could easily run on a PS3. Yeah, this is something I've been saying for a long time. Now it seems like it's becoming a bit more commonly accepted among the plebs, among the less informed, the less technologically aware. That yes, there's nothing particularly special about PlayStation hardware. Like, PlayStation isn't running games that Nintendo consoles can't run. Like, they're not doing like all this crazy shit. Like, remember when like early on, like when a Ratchet and Clank was first coming out, and they were trying to tell you that, like, oh man, like the game is designed in a way so that the load times are going to be so quick, you're going to be able to jump in between like different worlds like instantaneously. Like, they're going to load immediately. Like, that was the narrative they were actually trying to sell people. That was the big hype cycle for the PS5, is that they were going to completely eliminate load times. They were going to completely eliminate load cycles. They were going to do all this shit. And here we are 8 months later, and, well, more than 8 months later, 10 months later, like almost a year later. And, like, it turns out not only was that not true, it was a complete lie. It was a fabrication. It was a hype cycle. It was a PR stunt. It was not true. Like, it was a lie. Now, I know, like, Ratchet and Clank is like a couple of weeks old now, and nobody cares about it anymore. Nobody's pretending to play or care about it. But this is the reality. Like, this is the kind of thing I've been telling you for like years now, like almost a decade, of just like how PlayStation just makes up shit about their releases, and how the game journalists, generally speaking, just regurgitate and promote it and try to present it as like a normal thing, like every single time. Like, this reminds me of Knack, right? Like, of this really middle of the road PS4 title that clearly could have been like a PS2 game, legit could have run on PS2. And, like, people were, like, hyping it up as, like, a major thing. Meanwhile, like, Wonderful 101 was getting shit on by journalists, despite being, like, a really, really well-made, interesting action game for, like, a hardcore gaming audience. Like, the double standard was bizarre, like, to me, even then. And now it's, I don't want to say it's worse. It's about the same, but I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that, like, PlayStation isn't doing anything new and exciting. Like, their big game this week was, like, Ghost of Tsushima Definitive Edition, a re-release of a game that wasn't very good to begin with. Like here's a question for you, Sony fans. I was going to make a video about this. I probably should, but maybe later. But where are the games? Like, where's your new shit? Like, when is Sony actually going to come out with, like, something new and interesting? Like, you can try to tell me that Horizon Zero Dawn and God of War 2 will be good, but they're not. Like, Horizon Zero Dawn in particular, I think, is going to crash and burn. But God of War 2, like, if they pull, like, a Last of Us 2 and really, like, I don't know, make Atreus the protagonist or something like that, like, have a gay sex scene between him and Kratos, which they might pull. Like, I can see them doing that. They used to do this in ancient Sparta all the time, man. It's historically accurate. Fucking faggots. They'll try to pull something like that. I'm sure they'll alienate their audience. It's not going to, like, retain its popularity. Like, the typical rule when it comes to these PlayStation IPs is that, like, they typically have, like, a lot of momentum for, like, the first 3 games, but after that, like, people start to lose interest because, like, you know, they're the same thing over and over again. Like Uncharted, like, that's a good example. Like, 3 games and then, like, just a massive drop in interest. When Sony announced they weren't going to produce any more Uncharted games, no one gave a shit. Like, imagine if, like, Nintendo announced they were never going to do, like, a new Star Fox again or a new Metroid again. Like, people would freak out, right? But Uncharted, nobody gives a shit because nobody actually plays Uncharted. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares about Nathan Drake. Nobody cares about his adventures or his love life or, like, the treasures he finds. Like, he's not a very fun character at all. Fucking Wario is a better treasure hunter than Nathan Drake. I know it kind of sounds like I'm shitting on Wario here, but I love Wario Land. I am like Ratchet and Clank has lasted longer, more than most PlayStation IPs, but that doesn't mean that like it's a particularly good or interesting one. Like, it's all the developers are capable of making. In other words, like they tried to make Sunshine Overdrive, they failed. They were acquired by Sony, and now I think they're going to be forced to churn out Ratchet and Clank games. And I think now that they're under like contract to do it, we're going to see a massive decline in quality and interest. And I think longtime fans are eventually going to tune out because like people who've been playing Ratchet and Clank, like they have to be in their 30s and 40s, right? They're not going to be around much longer. Like these people are gonna get married and have kids eventually, if they ever do. Like they're either gonna end up like Spoonie, like end up living with their parents with limited internet access, or they're just gonna grow up and like just not want to play this mediocre platforming game anymore. Like that's kind of how I feel about it. That's they can't continue like this. There's nothing about Ratchet and Clank that's gonna keep people's interest, especially with news like this dropping. That like the amazing things that this game was supposedly doing aren't actually true. It's not real. It was all a hoax. It was a it was a COVID situation. Like they just made it all up in an attempt to get you to buy PlayStation 5s. It was pathetic. It was lame. You need to just tell these people to fuck off. Like, don't buy PlayStation. Don't buy Ratchet and Clank. Don't buy anything Sony. Avoid them like you avoid The Masked.